Hey guys, welcome to HUDS Up episode 3. This is going to be our Switch impression episode. I'm Simon Lyle. I'm joined by Ian Kennedy and Neil Dutton. As you may have saw, we were at the midnight launch. Well, 2 out of 3 of us were, and Jordan randomly, even though he wasn't buying a Switch. So we're just going to, yeah, that's it. So we're just going to be talking a bit about our experiences over the past almost a week with the Switch and what we think of it so far. So guys, where do you want to start? I'll come to Ian first because I kind of know what he's going to say.
I wasn't expecting that. So Ian Kennedy's review of the Nintendo Switch. Don't say him. It's, to me, it is the revolution that Nintendo promised us years ago, probably with the Wii. For gamers anyway. I'm not sold on everything yet. It's not quite ready, but the console itself is very impressive. I'll push it back to Neil and see what he thinks of it.
I think it's incredible. It's the first time I've genuinely thought that this is a Nintendo device since the Nintendo 64 that's really worth the money and the effort in it. The only thing that I've been disappointed by is the sort of lack of AAA games, as people would call them. There's indie games out there, fantastic. But yeah, really, it's just the lack of games has been a bit of an issue. I've played it in handheld mode and on TV mode a lot. I've been up till 3 in the morning most days.
Fall asleep weight on your chest. Yeah.
I've been playing it on the big screen, just playing Zelda constantly. And it's the first time that I've played a Zelda game since Ocarina of Time, and it really is as good as they say it is, I think. Yeah, but that's sort of my impressions of it. Immediately, I have got 1-2 Switch. I've still not played it. I've got Fast RMX ordered from the eShop. Still not played it because I've just been lost in the world of Zelda. But the features of it, it's incredible. The battery life was brilliant. I sat the other day on Saturday in a car park for an hour, just sitting there playing away with one of the kids sleeping in the back of the car, waiting on the other one that was in her swimming lessons, and it was brilliant, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you guys. I'm really entrenched in Zelda. I love the device. I love how it feels. I love the versatility of it. I'm like you, Neil. I haven't really played Zelda full on since Ocarina of Time. I've dabbled with I missed Link to the Past when it came out in the SNES. I never really paid much attention to it then, but I've gone back more recently, and that's a game I still plan to try and get through. But this is just it's grabbed me, and the device itself, as you say, it's even people say about the battery life only being 2.5 3 hours, but to be honest, for me so far, I've not been going away from the house for longer than that, so it's been doing more than I need it to do, and the experience on the tablet or the the handheld mode itself is as good, if not some claims better than the TV mode. But I've got to say, I do find myself favouring throwing it up in the big screen because it is such a gorgeous game as well, Zelda. And it's just nice to see it up there on the big screen. But it's also nice to be able to know that, okay, I can take it to the bed with me, I can take it to, in the car, the train, whatever. So the device itself is just fantastic. I too have 1-2 Switch. I have tried 27 of the 28 mini games. I refrained from playing Baby, which only because I was playing it with my wife, and we were playing it on the big screen, and it meant taking the Switch out the cradle, out the dock, because you're supposed to kind of hold it like a baby.
And I just be a dad.
I didn't want to take it out the dock, to be honest. But I would say there's a good handful of games in 1-2 Switch. It's not perfect, but there's definitely some fun to be had. We had some good laughs on last Friday night playing that. And as we record this is Wednesday night, and tomorrow I think Blaster Master's going to be out, Blaster Master Zero, which is a kind of sequel to a NES game, and it's done very much in 8-bit style, so I'm quite looking forward to that. I've held off buying Shovel Knight again, just for I think it's a bit expensive for the full package. Was it $22.99 or something like that? Just feels a bit expensive considering I already have it. But I have been sucked into the stuff round about it. I've already brought my Pro Controller. You guys got your Pro Controllers?
Snap. Yeah.
Crackle.
Got mine here. More importantly as well, I actually, for the first time, and this includes my iPad, bought a case. I bought the Nintendo case for it to go in because I actually worried about breaking it. Walk around with an iPad, quite happy, but a case, needed a case for it. And if you can put the screen protector on, I don't even do that with my mobile phones. When I get the free screen protector, I go, I'll not bother. And I've sat there with the Switch, sort of trying to get this on, and yeah, it's been really good. The PlayStation 4 hasn't been switched on since, and I used to play that almost every evening just to make sure I kept up to date with the gaming. My gaming laptop hasn't been on either, and I think that just shows how good the Switch is, and especially Zelda. And I mean, it is the only game that I've really got that you can invest that much time into, but it is fantastic. It looks incredible. The stylization of it just you can see somewhere and go, I'm going to go there, and you do. And in my usual fashion, I've avoided all the main quests and went side quests, not even side quests, and just exploring. So I've still only got 5 heart containers. I've only got 1 stamina wheel, and I'm still going around. So it's great fun. Making all the recipes, doing all the cooking and things like that. Gordon Ramsay of Hyrule.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't think I was going to get into at all, was the cooking. But again, it's so accessible and kind of intuitive, and you know, it's experimental. You don't know what you're going to get literally when you mix things together, and it really encourages you, you know, to experiment and find, like, you know, how many health is this going to give me? Is this going to give me extra buffs against cold, or, you know, stamina boosts or speed boosts? So yeah, it's really fun. Again, it's kind of like the whole thing. I think we spoke about like things like Fallout and things. It feels too deep and too huge for me. But whereas I think this being Zelda has drawn me into it. You know what I mean? And I'm doing, you know, I'm playing with all these systems that usually would turn me off a bit to a game, but just through what it is, it's and how, you know, beautiful it is, and I guess probably because it's the only game that I've got for my Switch, really, you know, it's just drawing me right in. I mean, Ian, you're you played like all the Zeldas pretty much, as far as I'm aware. What do you feel about this game? You know,
Well, it is like, if you take Ocarina of Time as being a kind of revolutionary 3D, I personally believe that this Zelda is true next gen. That's what I believe about it. You're saying how games are so big, and I remember they said that this game is so big you couldn't complete it, and I kind of believe that now. The features within it are just insane, but as you say, the world is huge, but yeah, it doesn't feel like a task or a chore, because you know you might have ages to go to get to somewhere, but you're always just saying, watching a butterfly fly by you 2 seconds later. You know, that's a figuratively, you know, you're distracted by little things that are so achievable at that time that it gets you to your next point, and beat a heart, you know.
Yeah, I think that's you've nailed it there, because a lot of games, Skyrim and Fallout are great examples, and GTA of where things happen in games as you're traveling places, but then you have things like The Division where you'd have to go from A to B and nothing really happens, or the same thing continually happens. GTA, I think, still has the lead on that, where you can go along and, you know, or even Red Dead Redemption, you go along, you get someone asking for help and they'd actually be out to get you, and things like that. GTA does similar things, obviously made by the same company, but you in Zelda Breath of the Wild, you just find yourself going on a journey and enjoying the journey, and you go, I'm going to climb that mountain, and you get halfway up and you think, it started raining, I can't climb it, I can't finish it because I'm going to slide down, or I've not got my thermals with me, I need to go and buy thermals, and you know, and all this sort of stuff if it gets too cold. It's just the detail is incredible in it, absolutely fantastic. It really is.
Yeah, I've never seen a game like it. Sorry, the game world itself, not even verticality, just the levels. It's beautiful. And I was saying to Simon the other day, something that really makes me smile, because it is a Zelda game. See, just going to somewhere and opening a door and no loading screen. It just makes me smile.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, that was the thing that you and I were talking about it. We met up the other day, and it's been a long time, and we were saying this before the Switch came out. Talking about the Switch and, you know, looking forward to Zelda, it kind of took us back to being kids again, and you know, and talking about games in a way that we hadn't really. I mean, we talk about games that we've played, obviously, and experiences we've had, and then obviously those experiences we have together online for playing in the same game or whatever. But this is different. It's kind of like we're talking about different things we'd seen, and Ian would say something, and I'm like, oh man, I haven't seen that yet, and I would say something, and he was like, oh really, like, and I'm like, how do you get that? How do you get the the warm clothes? Because I kind of missed the warm clothes bit where you can get warmer clothes, and I had heads up a mountain to like the cold, and I powered through, but just kept continually eating things, to keep my hearts up, and I managed to get past it, and it was fine. But that's the great thing about this game. I don't think anything's beyond your reach. It doesn't really gate anything off to you, so you can literally go anywhere from the start. You just have to have enough items or collect things as you go, and make sure you're well stocked in item management and things. But it's just encouraging this conversation where, and it's not talk about spoilers. That's a big thing now, but it doesn't feel spoilery to me. It feels just like, oh man, I can't wait to see that, or I can't wait to get that item.
Yeah, I think so. Some of the scenes in it, or some of the things that happen, we'll not talk about them here maybe, but I've messaged about them on our group chat, and mentioned certain things that they're jaw-dropping sort of experiences that happen, and you've not experienced it. You just see something happening in the background, and you think, I'm going to come back for that. Whereas in other games like Fallout, you'd see something, you go, oh yeah, I'll get back to it. You'd never go back. Now, I play Fallout to right the way down to all the detail, and I've got all the vault dweller clothes and things like that, the hoodie and the t-shirts, and I've got a couple of I've got all of the characters as well, the little models and things as well. So I think that what's really got me about this game, and I've written an article for whathappensinggaming.com, a feature that basically says that this was something special. I got a PlayStation 4 when it first came out. I got a PS3 when it first came out, all on pre-order, Xbox One, and I've not felt this way about a console, I don't think, since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. It was almost like, and I mentioned that in my article, it's really like sort of Christmas again when it arrived, and I was dying to open it, and I was thinking, can I finish work early today and open it and start playing with it?
Yeah.
And opening it and just sitting in the wow factor that it gave you. And the PS4 didn't do that. It was quite a sort of sterile experience. However, it is a really great console. I'm not for a second saying it's a bad console at all. But this was the first console, I think, going back to my Amiga A500 Plus, when I opened that and the Amiga A500 Plus was sitting in there, and I had Captain Planet, the computer game.
Holy.
I sat there and I thought, this is amazing, and just ran away and opened it up and started playing with it. I mean, I've kept the boxes. Why am I keeping the box? Why am I keeping the box for a device that's sitting like 2 feet in front of me? It is. It just gives you a really fantastic sort of a buzz from it. It really gave you the release. And watching you guys at the live launch, it was just wish I was there.
Jumping about.
Well, I mean that's the thing. I mean, anyone who's seen our unboxing video that Ian and I did, that the way that the console's presented to you is, when you open it up, it's just there, and it's like, you can see the colors, you can see the console, and it's just waiting for you to put it together. But come back to Zelda, like the WTF moments, as I've said to Ian, like I've just had so many of them. I mean, the thing you're talking about, again, we don't want to spoil anything, but I was looking through my scope, my tablet scope, and Sheikah Slate, I think it is, and I was just looking off into the distance, and something caught my eye, and I was like, what? I couldn't, but I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I can only imagine what's going to happen when I eventually reach that point. I mean, I've seen it a couple of times since, and I still don't. I just keep thinking, how is this going to work? But again, that's just one of like so many times, experiences I've had in this game. I told Ian when I went to one of the shrines, and I was up against an enemy, and it was just way too hard for me, and I was using all my weapons and ended up with no weapons. Yeah, and I kept getting killed and respawning with my weapons, and then I suddenly I realized I could teleport, fast travel in the map. So I left the shrine, and I realized, I don't have any weapons at all. So I spent the next like hour or so just trying to kill enemies to get a weapon, but like I had nothing to actually use, so I was having to like scavenge, and it was just this huge experience. I mean, I could probably have loaded an earlier save game, but I didn't want to. I was kind of like, this is my experience. I've been an idiot. I've went up against something too tough. I've lost all my weapons, and now I'm gonna have to fight to survive. And I mean, it's just it wasn't frustrating. It was just fun, and that just comes down to the gameplay and the mechanics.
I take it. I think we should probably talk about some other games now. I think we could talk about Zelda all night, if I'm honest.
That was another point I was going to make. I got off on a tangent there a bit, but like when Neil was saying about the launch and how good this game is, I don't think there's been and comparing it to the PS4 and the Xbox One, and even thinking back to the PS3, Xbox 360, I don't know if there's been a launch game that's been as important and as good for a console like this since Mario 64. Like, I don't know if there's been I mean, Halo was there for Xbox, and obviously that was important, but I don't know if it was for Xbox people, Neil.
No, I had the Xbox and I got Halo with it. It was one of those games that I was a bit meh.
But
it was fantastic, but
like,
it's just not my style of game.
It was a system seller, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this feels like that when Ian and I used to go to this game store when we were at school when Mario 64 was coming out, with the N64, and they had this demo, and it was you could just go and people queued up to play it and things, and that's what this feels like. And I honestly can't think. I mean, maybe you guys can, of another game that has been as good and as important to the console.
I think that Assassin's Creed Black Flag, when it came with the PS4, was incredible. It was jaw dropping because of the pirate the pirate sections where you were at sea. It's all pirate sections, but the point being was when you had the fights against the sort of bigger frigates and things like that. I thought it was incredible, but it wasn't a Sony game. It's a Ubisoft game,
and that was platform as well. That was exactly. Out for the 360 and the PS3. But yeah, I take your point.
But Zelda, it is like Mario 64 was for the Nintendo 64. That launch title, I can't think of anything Super Nintendo when it came out. Super Mario Brothers was another one, but
Mario World was. I think that was a launch title for the SNES.
That's right, yeah.
But
maybe it's not as high a level, but I remember being really excited for Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast and the Dreamcast in general.
Yeah, I mean, again, objectively, not as good a game now looking back on it, but definitely the excitement factor was there, and that was a system seller for us. I mean, back in the day, that was what got us in the door.
So I want to be devil's advocate with this, though, in terms of Legend of Zelda being a system seller. It definitely is, but you have to remember that it's also out on the Wii U, and it's fairly indistinguishable. It's been built from the ground up. I believe that Nintendo knows that game is a system seller, and further to that, I think that possibly the Switch is out a little bit earlier than it probably would have been, because they needed to launch Legends of Zelda. It needs to go down in history, and if they've got it on two consoles, they're getting better sales and they're selling consoles, whereas if they just brought it out on the Wii U, they might get dwindled sales because people would wait for the Switch, and that doesn't put it in a good place in history.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you're exactly right. I think they wouldn't have had Zelda. I think they had promised Zelda to the Wii U buyer, and I mean, as small as that install base is comparatively to other Nintendo consoles, I guess they couldn't alienate those people in case that was the people that were going to buy the Switch and only them. So I think you're right. I think they've brought this out a bit, maybe a bit early. I mean, speaking to that point, I mean, what kind of have either of you encountered any problems, or do you want to speak about the limitations of the system that you've come across, Neil? Maybe.
The only problem I've really had with it was the color sort of washout. But I watched the video on YouTube that Ian had shared with us and changed the settings from automatic and set the resolution to 1080p, and I set the colors to full instead of instead of being set to automatic as well, and that just made everything sort of stand out. Up until then, I wasn't too bothered because I thought maybe it's just my monitor. It's an LG widescreen IPS monitor, so I thought maybe it was just a quirk of the console, and that I wasn't too fussed. It made it look a bit more sort of watercolor and washed out. but making those changes made everything just stand out and made them really quite vivid, and added to it even further. I think that's the only thing that is genuinely the only thing I've encountered. I managed to get the sort of straps for the handset, the Joy-Con on. They worked perfectly all right. I managed to put the docking station in. I did have a problem with the docking station not working with my monitor. It turned out I hadn't plugged it in.
That'll do it.
So for about 2 minutes, I was like, no, it's not going to work with my monitor. Help have plugged it in.
Yeah. What is it your job is again, Neil?
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yeah, I did the same thing with the colours. I mean, I didn't expect it to make such a difference, but I mean, it really does. It throws up the contrast, and I mean, I really hadn't noticed it being washed out. I just thought it had that kind of, as you say, kind of pastel, like watercolor look. I hadn't noticed the video that you're talking about. Mentioned that you notice a big difference between the handheld mode and the TV mode, but I hadn't really. But changing it definitely a stark contrast. Contrasty. Have you done the settings, Ian?
I haven't done it yet. Again, I would echo what you said. I just thought it was a kind of style of Zelda, possibly, but I will get to it. I think that just going to the operating system of the operating system of the Switch, it's kind of novel to see. Now I'm friends with you, and it wasn't the easiest thing to do, but it wasn't hard by any means, but it wasn't simple either. Now I'm friends with you. It's nice to see someone popping up online on a Nintendo console. Welcome Nintendo 10 years later, as they do. But it echoes again what I was saying about them not being ready for the system, I think, because a lot of the no virtual consoles there. And I think the online's promised, but it's another thing. They've totally revolutionised and spent this time creating this hardware, but they don't quite have the operating system up for it yet, which doesn't matter because you're too busy playing Zelda.
You're... Simon, he's still not added me yet to his friends list, so I know where I stand.
Oh, will we do it now on the video? Will we do it? How do I do it?
You can do it live. So bringing up to so talking about the limitations of the system, and think problems we've had or issues. The friend notification thing is awesome. You see someone popping on, but I find myself like I can see what you're doing, what game you're playing. But if I go to it and I'm like, I don't know, I seem to expect that I can do stuff, maybe send you a message or like share a screenshot straight to you, or even talk to you. Imagine that. But so you can't really do anything like that at the moment. I mean, they're saying that's going to come with this app when it launches eventually, but that seems, it feels a little bit weird, and it feels a little bit empty sometimes, because you do have this like friends list that's kind of growing, and it is awesome to see, as you say, people pop up online, but there's no and there's no games that I have currently that I can play with people online. Apparently that Fast RMX, like, you can't actually play with friends. You can only play if you're local at the moment.
Right. Okay.
So I mean, that's only what I've kind of seen online, that people have, they can play like matchmaking, and it'll match you with 7 other random people, but you can only play with friends if they're there in the room with you in the local Wi-Fi. So that kind of sucks. Another issue I've had, and I've seen it a few places, I haven't had it recently, but a couple of times I've had the console not recognizing my cartridges. So I've changed from Zelda to 1-2 Switch, and it still says there's no cart in the slot, and I'm gonna have to take it out and put it back in again. And if and then sometimes I didn't fix it, and then I tried it again. I've only had that happen properly with that once, and I phoned Nintendo about it. I just wanted to see if they'd had any reports, because I'd seen it a couple of places online, and their kind of advice was they hadn't apparently had many people having the issue, but I guess they would maybe say that anyway. But first hand would be taking it back to the retailer to get an exchange if it keeps happening, and if not, they can take it for a repair, which can take 2 to 3 weeks. Now that sounded fine. That was fair play to them. If it happens again, I would consider taking it back to where I bought it. But I suddenly realised the other thing that's a limitation is the game save data, which is apparently tied to the console, and you can't move that or back it up anywhere. So I've put in quite a few hours to Zelda. So if I was to take that, try and exchange my console, if that develops to be a proper problem, I've lost that. And same goes for even sending it back to Nintendo, which would be the next best option, or the best option for me, because I'd rather not exchange the console. So if I send that back to Nintendo, there's no guarantees I'm going to get the same console back fixed. So I could lose my saves, and that goes for everyone. And I mean, I don't know if that's going to be something that gets updated or patched out in firmware, but I mean that's a huge flaw to me with how easy Xbox and PS4 make it. It's just it's a bit of a cardinal sin with save game. You know what I mean? Like you're putting all this time in, and it could just be gone.
Maybe the online services is where they'll add that in, because with your PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3 before that, your saves, if you've got PS Plus, get uploaded to the cloud, don't they?
Yes.
It's a bit like Steam. I'm not sure about Xbox. I need to get one, but I'm holding off for Scorpio or whatever comes behind it. I just think it's too late in the generation now. But yeah, I agree that would be a huge loss. And I've had it happen with other games where I've not a backup or something's failed as well. On Skyrim was one particular issue, so yeah, I can see it being a problem.
Again, if the option's there to back it up to an SD card, and I've not done that, then that's that falls on me. But there's no option, and especially if there's a potential fault with your console, there has to be a way you would think to be able to save your progress.
You would think you could put it in an SD card because the SD cards are locked to the console once you use it anyway. So I mean, where are you going to take it?
Yeah, I don't trust SD cards though, because I've had SD cards fail on me and fail on customers as well, and they've lost information on them before, whether it be photographs from a camera or whatever. So I'd be worried about the SD card. I'd rather that it was that sort of online backup service that you have with Sony, and you go to your new. So I got a new PlayStation 4. One of them died, and they sent me out a new one, and I just downloaded all my saves. Just as soon as I logged in, it said, "Here you are. Here's all your save games."
Yeah, I mean that's the ideal situation. Yeah, that's exactly it. And maybe that will come with the paid service. I guess we can only hope.
The Nintendo's playing catch up, and hopefully they do catch up and they don't dwindle behind and stay in the dark ages.
Yeah, I mean they've announced that there's going to Netflix and YouTube and things and Amazon streaming apps are going to be coming. So hopefully that's a sign that they are. Maybe they just have been out a little bit early, and this is them kind of getting the final features in place.
We'll just treat this launch as the tutorial until such times as the full game becomes available.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, dear.
So I guess we'll start wrapping up there, guys. I mean, that's a good conversation about the Switch. I think we're all kind of on the same page where we feel it's got its limits, but as for Zelda, it's everything Zelda that we want.
If you haven't seen yet, make sure you put a screen protector on it. That's the only thing I'll say.
Yeah,
yeah. I guess that's another limitation with it's a bit of a shame that they're on. But trust me, if my console gets scratched, I've got a screen protector on it now, but if it gets scratched and it's their dock that does it, we'll be having words.
You heard it here first. Don't delete his Nintendo.
And I think it's important to point out here, I am by no ways in no way at all a Nintendo fanboy. You could probably call me an Android fanboy, and that's about it. But I've got an iPhone and an Android. I just think the Android's better. But you see the negative sort of things from people who don't even have the console. I've never played the game. I've never played the console, but it's the worst thing ever. Really, can we not just get along, hold hands, and sway back and forth and sing Kumbaya and enjoy the damn game? Choice is a good thing ultimately, and this is added to the choice rather than just having Sony and Microsoft.
Definitely. I mean, I think you're talking. I guess you're kind of referencing as well. There's been a lot of attacks on the Zelda reviews, and people claiming there's been paid reviews, and people going on to Metacritic and giving 0 out of 100 scores and literally saying they've never played the game. They're just trying to balance some imaginary scale. So so I'm going to give an example of kind of heartwarming maybe experience here. So I had ended up with 2 copies of Zelda. Yeah, so I had to return one to the where I bought it from, and I overheard a customer was buying a Switch, and they were only doing the bundle now, and that because there's such limited supply, and it was coming with 1-2 Switch and Legend of Zelda, and the girl that was serving the guy said, "I'm sorry, it's only a digital download copy of Zelda." And he was like, that means I'll have to get like an SD card and stuff like that, because there's not a lot of storage on this console, and he was kind of starting to rethink it. But I think he'd been to a lot of places and hadn't managed to find a Switch because, again, they were mostly sold out. So I just kind of stepped in and said, I'm bringing back a sealed copy of Zelda, like, does that help you guys out? Like, will that, can I just give you this? I'll get my cash back, and you can give this to this guy. The guy just turned around and gave me a big hug. You know what I mean? That's what we need. We don't need haters. We need, like, I want to say lovers, but likers. And I just said, oh, Nintendo brothers, and that's what it it was just this nice, community. That's what it is. Don't have to drag something down just because you like something else.
It's true, but you have just made yourself look like a fanboy. After me saying that I'm not a fanboy, so
nah. I'm a fanboy. I'm a fan of the Switch, and of Zelda. That's what I'll say. I never had a Wii U, and I never had a GameCube, and I did have a Wii, but yeah, everyone had a Wii.
It was a Wii. The Wii was a casual party game, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you got it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at what we've got. It was like the fondue set of the 70s. That was what the Wii became, the fondue set of the noughties. Here we go. Look. Strawberry chocolate fountains. Put it next to the chocolate fountain.
Now you can bowl on the TV. It's great. And tennis. But yeah, so you guys made yourselves a Mii? Or did yours import from previously, or?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't think it has, actually, because remember when we launched it, I thought I could just take a picture, because in the Wii U you could take a picture of your face and make it. And
I says no, there's no camera, like, which is that's that's kind of like an interesting statement, I think, as well. Like, when you think back to, like, the Vita and how gimmicky that was with the first few games, and even like the 3DS or DS when it launched. To have no camera, that's kind of like a statement of intent, and and apparently they took out touch controls on Zelda, so that's quite heartening. That they're not just using the fact that it has a touchscreen as a gimmick.
I'll admit that I've used the touchscreen a few times, but I switched off the accelerometer for Zelda, because I was sitting playing it and I was going, why is my aim going off? And then I realised, it's because my hand's moving, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a puzzle. There's a puzzle in one of the shrines that needs it.
Yeah.
I got around that puzzle, incidentally, by flipping the said thing completely upside down. So I flipped the entire controller upside down and had a nice flat surface just to roll things around.
Nice.
There you go.
Smart.
Logical. I couldn't help myself. It was the easiest way. I thought, I'm not doing this. Flip.
Did you notice that in said puzzle, though, there was a chest?
Yes. Yeah.
How?
There's a way, and I'm going to figure it out. I've got it on a notepad here to go back to that shrine to get that. There's another one where it's a kind of another mini game. That's a bit like, I don't know how it would be a spoiler to give it away, but it's a bit like golf, and it's just I'm going back there and I'm getting that damn chest, and if it's just an opal,
man,
if it's just an opal or a traveler's sword,
yeah.
It's like when you play the Division, and I made it all the way through. The bad guy, this is it, fantastic. What do I get? A bobble hat. Right. It gives me +1.
Yeah. Cool, guys. Okay, we'll wrap it up there. As usual, remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/WHI Gaming. We are at WHI Gaming on Twitter. We will be. Are we launching the website?
Website will be launching soon. It'll be whathappensinggaming.com. At the moment, you won't be able to get in, unfortunately, because we're still sort of tweaking things and just putting the final bits of spit and polish onto it. So we're going to do a bit of a soft launch on it, and then we'll let everyone know.
Yeah. Stay tuned to the Facebook page and the Twitter, and we'll definitely let you guys know when that's all live. All right. So from us here, that's all, folks, I guess. Thanks for the chat, and enjoy your Switches if you've got them. See you later, guys.
See you later, folks. Bye.
Bye.